Ghana has missed this several times, but in this week, in the course of the week, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GIBA, and government were at each other's throats, or they were engaged in a war of words, let me put it that way, over the involvement of a Chinese company, StarTimes, in the execution of a certain digital project. Government says it is distinct from the DTT platform which they seek to roll out, but GIBA has some suspicions. They're saying that such a critical national resource may be given to a foreign entity. That is on press conference. Again, the politics of the fuel gallon was back again this week as fuel prices crossed the 5 Ghana cedi mark in the course of the week. The minority says government can scrap off taxes and give Ghanaians relief. But government, on the other hand, through the Energy Ministry, saying that the minority is being hypocritical, especially when there's some relief for Ghanaians after government scrapped some taxes, ESLA and others, at the beginning of the year. And then finally, we will look at a leaked cabinet report that lists companies, state institutions such as Ghana Gas, Maslock, and others, where former appointees of government under the Mahama administration have been indicted over their involvement in some wrongful use of state funds. Press conference is live and interactive via the WhatsApp line 0549986 996 0549986 996, and on Twitter the hashtag is press conference, and on Facebook is City TV GH. My name is Mensah Opoku. We will take a break and we'll be back to introduce my guest, and then we'll delve into the discussions. You're welcome back on press conference on City TV. Now, helping me to the discussion today, to my immediate left, is Isaac Wilberforce Mensah. Isaac Wilberforce Mensah is a legal mind and host of Breakfast Daily on City TV. You're welcome, Isaac.
Thank you.
Next to him is head of research at policy think tank Imani Africa, but he's also a media man, and that's why he's on this platform. Patrick Stevenson is host of news on GH1 TV. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Duke.
Yes, the TV news uncle. And then next to him is a gentleman who is a chief editor of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Radio Ghana. Yes, that's radio. And is also the president of the Tema regional branch of the Ghana Journalists Association. Chairman, yes. You're welcome, Chairman Dominic Kloji.
Thank you, Duke.
Yes, so we would delve into the discussions right now, but as we always do, we would set into perspective the issues we're about to discuss with the following reports.
I have told you over and over again that StarTimes enhancing the network is based on us having funding from the Exim facility. Okay? You're saying clearly that the legal and commercial issues remained unsolved. So there were issues that had to be resolved. There is no agreement. We are not there yet.
What about the information in the first letter he read that the Attorney General had been written to by the Communications Ministry stating that there was a contract?
Listen, if there's a documentation between the MOC and StarTimes, for that document or contract to become binding, it means that StarTimes are getting the funding from the Exim Bank facility.
So that was Deputy Minister for Communications, George Anda, saying that there was nothing untoward going on and that GIBA's suspicions were misplaced. But he got a response in connection to what he said on Point of View, which was on City TV, hosted by Bernard Koku Avlen. That response came from a member of the minority, that's a communications committee, and member of parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, Sam George. On that program, there was also Madam Gloria Hiaji, who is Executive Secretary for GIBA. But let's look at Sam George's response to government's position on this digital terrestrial television platform issue involving StarTimes.
In 2017, first quarter 2017, the ICC gave a written judgment to the new Attorney General, Madame Gloria Akufu. And I'm putting on record that the decision by the ministry to abrogate the arbitration process, which Ghana was coasting to victory, because clearly the two bases on which the Star Times went to arbitration had been struck out, and Star Times was struggling to show any proof. The ministry, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, goes and comes out of the arbitration and says they want to settle. Reason being, you have around that time, the vice president had gone to China for the 19 billion facility. Part of the condition precedent on that was to get that case out of arbitration and settle the matter with Star Times. So then you now have a decision by the Ministry of Communication to pull out a case Ghana was winning, where Ghana would not have spent a dime, and then go into and sign an MOU with Star Times, that Star Times should come and assist the ministry to do an audit of the KNet platform. And when they do the audit, the findings of that audit will now enable Star Times get a new contract.
So that was Samuel Nate George, who is member of parliament for the Ningo Pram constituency in the Greater Accra region. He's also a member of the Communications Committee of Parliament. Now we would begin the discussions on the DTT matter. I'll begin with you, Dominic. This is a very critical national resource. We are talking about our broadcast space, digital television space. That's where the world is going to. Government insists that they have not put pen to paper to append their signature on any contract that is giving the rollout of phase 2 of the digital migration to Star Times. But it looks like GIBA does not believe what government is saying. Are these suspicions, let's say, are they justified? Or government is clearly not communicating well on this policy?
I think the suspicion by the members of GIBA is justified, because these are stakeholders in the field. And so if something is coming and it will affect them, they need to raise the red flag before it gets to the level that they will be uncomfortable. And so for me, they are justified in raising the issues they are raising. Maybe government has not done well in communicating exactly what they are doing with Start Time, with the people, the GIBA members. That is why they are raising the issues. But why are we here? The issue is, in this country, we lack proper planning. We were in this country, we were aware that we're going to move from analog to digital. We waited. The International Telecommunication Organization gave us 2015 to migrate. We were dancing around it, and 2015 passed. We were unable to do what they asked us to do. 2016, 2017, we are in 2018. And we are still fighting over this, whilst others have taken advantage of this migration and they are reaping the fruit of it. Government needs to communicate properly to the people of this country, and in particular GIBA, what exactly it is doing. I hear government is saying that they are engaging in satellite. Start Time is supposed to do satellite
community satellite project.
Community satellite project
villages,
for
yes.
300 villages or communities. Some say villages, some say communities. We don't know which is which. Is that different from what DTT is? You get it? Already, we know that KNet has done some work regard to having the platform for the GIBA members to be on board.
But currently, they operate that.
Yes, they are on that platform.
And it happened because initially Star Times was engaged, but their contract was cancelled, and then KNet had to step in. Which KNet, by the way, is a Ghanaian company. Yes.
Yes. So with that, we know that government, the past government or the previous government, considered KNet in the spirit of local content. Now they call it Ghanaian content, and gave the contract to KNet. Now, why do we go back to a company that we are fighting in court, that has taken us far away to the international courts, trying to justify why it needs to operate the DTT. The DTT. Now, why are we going back to start time? That is the question that we need to ask the government or the Ministry of Communication, because they were unable to deliver. And it's not that they gave the job to them, they delivered, and they took the contract from them. They failed to deliver what they signed onto. And so the previous government decided to take the contract from them, and then they were angry and took the issue to court. Why do we go back to them? Now, if what they are doing now is different from what the DTT is, government needs to explain that properly for Ghanaians to understand. People have raised issues of giving a space that we consider a security zone to a private or a company that is not Ghanaian.
But I mean, if you make that argument, StarTimes is already a player in the, even though they are not on the free to air or DTT.
Yes.
They are D2H, like they are the decoder to homes.
Yes.
It's like other networks. So already they are in the space.
That is different from hosting a whole satellite
and
managing it. And even that, people are raising issue with how are you going to prevent their operation from entering into this, and how are you going to ensure that satellite, how will you set the limits so that it doesn't interfere with what the GIBA people are doing? You get it? So there are various issues. People raise issues with content as to whether what they'll be putting out there will be Ghanaian enough to help us develop. Will it come to affect our culture? Will it come to project Chinese things? Those are the issues that people are raising, and they are legitimate questions that are being raised, and the Ministry of Communication needs to give answers to these questions.
Okay, now I'll move to you, Patrick. Government has clearly explained that what StarTimes is doing with regards to the 300 community satellite project is distinct from the rolling out of the phase 2 of the digital migration process or the DTT process. Well, why does it seem like, or I mean, from people, why is the suspicion justified? That's one. And then two, why does it seem like government is protecting Chinese interests instead of Ghanaian interests?
I like the fact that you struggled with the question, reframing the question, yeah? Because clearly that position, that struggle exposes the system that we're currently confronting. Ghanaians are not stupid. I mean, sorry to say, mind my French, we're not stupid. So we don't need the government going around clarifying some of these things when we can read contract documents for ourselves, yeah?
There's no contract.
That's the point. That's the point of this whole conversation. That over time, we have allowed politicians both across the political divide, yeah? Because we hear this deal, some big people started engaging them, you abrogate it. Look, Ghanaians are not interested in all that crap. At the end of the day, what we're looking for, what are contract documents, so that we in the media can look at it and advise the people who are watching us. Rather than give politicians who both have been in the same boat, yeah, the opportunity to talk over our heads. Honorable St. George makes the point, and he connects a series of dots, for example, in the clip he just showed viewers, that, President goes to China, going to talk about some deal, then you can't, there's no way you can verify that. You can't. And he's able to say that because he's a member of parliament. Yeah? But the point is, it shouldn't be that. That's not how we are governed as a country. Look, when the Ministry of Finance announces the economic management policy for the country, we'll publish it on ministry's website. We'll translate it into local languages. Dagbani, Ga, Fanti, and publish. But contracts in this country, we pretend as though Ghanaians can't read.
No, but
I don't get the point.
But Patrick, in this instance, government is saying that there is no contract between government and StarTimes for the phase 2, which GIBA is complaining about.
What is StarTimes doing here? StarTimes is supposed to be in China.
They are implementing
but I'm saying StarTimes is supposed to be in China. What are they doing here?
I mean, as part of the Chinese, this was announced by Xi Jinping last year on his tour to Africa, which also raised other questions about China's inroads and their quest for soft power now.
No problem with the Chinese. Look,
but of course, it stands to reason that it's a Chinese company that will execute such a plan of the Chinese company. That's what StarTimes is doing. But government is saying that clearly there's a bound between that and coming into the DTT phase 2, which is what
I think you are misunderstanding what I'm saying. Whether it is going into DTT or wherever it is going, I'm saying that we can read. Ghanaians can read. So we don't need the Minister of Communication sitting on TVs and trying to justify the deal. We don't. And that's the point we have to start making to these politicians so they know. Put the contract document to the public if there's nothing to hide. I mean, I don't have a problem with any Chinese businessman trying to do any business anywhere. Look, the way the global economy works today is this. Recognize your global relevance, first of all. So what do you want as a country? The Chinese have figured it out. He's exporting its culture. The Indians have done it. Today, when you tune some of our channels, you are seeing all kinds of Indian soap opera roaming, being shown on our televisions. That's part of foreign policy. That's part of somebody's foreign policy strategy.
Yes, so
yeah.
far.
And then the India Exim Bank bankrolled some of those initiatives, and they what? The question I ask: what is our own position? What's our relevance? So that if you are going to engage the Chinese on some of these transactions and deals, whatever you call it, yeah, we all have clarity. But the position where we find ourselves, where the politicians appear to be talking about, for me, I feel is very untoward, because if you ask me now to educate somebody about this particular development, right? Somebody who can't read in English, what do you want me to tell them? That a member of parliament in the minority said this, and the one in the majority said that? And that's not how you run a country. That's not. And to the extent that they expect us to read 500 pages of the budget and economic policy management of this country, 20-page contract, 30-page, we can't read them. If there's something to an administration, publish it. So that you avoid cases where people in the minority will connect dots and tell you, for example, that, yeah, because the president is going to China, then we have there's some sort of strategy behind that. You should take the deal off the table.
You know that as a matter of statecraft, there are some documents, cabinet documents,
what are you saying?
Other documents.
The cabinet says there's nothing wrong. People swear.
People swear.
Duke, I disagree.
Secrecy and
no, Duke, I agree.
Not to bring some of these things
up. Duke, I agree with you.
I'm not holding you, but I'm just saying that there are issues that must be discussed at a certain level before it comes to public. Don't you?
But this is a contract. Value is going to be paid. Look, the Ministry of Communication makes us understand, for some of the documents I've seen, that is actually good for people of this country. 300 villages. They will get boxes. Community TV. What community TV in Ghana at this time? I mean, what kind of business model is this? You share boxes so that communities will agree whether it is school or church. Community come in Ghana and watch TV.
Information.
What's wrong with you? In this time, do you know what this tool is? My grandmother didn't go to school to learn Microsoft Office, but when she takes this phone, she can watch videos. Look, the digital economy has leapfrogged, and so this idea that somehow we have to arrange people in the community and put them together so they can watch TV, and we have to pay for it, and then after 6 months, it's 16, it's 15 CDs, and so that what is the community? There's some communities that can afford 15 CDs.
I can't help it.
I mean, what is this? So even when you move away from the politics as you are seeing it and the connections that some people in politics are drawing, the international criminal, why you take all of those things out? I mean, in this day and age, why you are putting big boxes in churches and in schools so people can watch community TV? This is the priority of the Ministry of Communication. One cost of data is killing businesses in this country. I mean, what is this? Now let's get serious, please. Okay. Let's get serious.
Okay, so Patrick's point is that all the documentation, whether on the China, the community, 300 communities, the government's digital platform or rollout for these communities, the information should be all contract documents, everything should be made plainly out there for people to see, so that we can judge for ourselves. But I have my own reservations about that. But that's for another. Let me speak.
Yeah, I mean, I do share reservations on this issue because, I mean, day in, day out, government signs hundreds of contracts. In fact, from the handing over to the new president or to the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the ministries, the departments, the agencies, they've been signing contracts day in, day out. And on this particular contract, or MOU, as the ministry seems to want to describe it at this point, we need to find out first what GIBA exactly is claiming for, and then we need to know the insistence. Why is the Ministry of Communication insisting on Star Times? And from both discussions, I'm getting two salient reasons why they're insisting on Star Times. So one, of course, is the $19 billion Exim Bank, Chinese Exim Bank. 95 million. See, 95 million facility that they seek to collect
for the digital migration.
And also, so that's one, and also the fact that from indications, it appears that the case between StarTimes and the government of Ghana, or the Ministry of Communications, at the International Commercial Court does not seem to be going well for government. So at this point,
but clearly on that point, Wilberforce, I mean, someone like Sam George says, according to the information available to him, he had almost won that case.
No,
so it is curious for government.
Sam George made huge contradictions.
Well, that's
Sam George
in that particular discussion, government had almost won that case, yes, especially after StarTimes lost the case here.
You see, there's no indication when it comes to issues like this. There's no indication to say that government had almost won. I mean, by what parameters are you saying government had almost won? Sam George did say he contradicted himself in that particular interview. He said there was the ICC, the International Court of Arbitration, had a written judgment. That's what I heard him say.
Sent to government,
yes,
or
and
something
like that. And then he goes on to say a few seconds or minutes later that, you know what, that the case, it appeared the case was not going well. So how can a decision that had been written and given, and a case is still in court when the decision has already been written, not just even an oral ruling that was given? So there was a bit of a contradiction there. But then, if indeed the case is not going well for the government of Ghana in respect of saying, let the people of Ghana know. That's the point that I agree with Patrick on. Information should be out there. Let the people of Ghana are discerning enough. This habit that sadly I seem to be getting from maybe not this particular government, but they all enjoy it. They all enjoy the secrecy. Being miserly with information is very terrible. Look at recently the in-camera hearing of the financial sector. All those things were not necessary.
I mean, we had some kind words for them on the show.
Yes, it was very terrible. So it seems government being miserly with information, and then they turn around and they say we are championing right to information. Who are they deceiving? No. At the end of the day, who are they deceiving? And issues. So we need to recognize that. Okay, so we are choosing Star. Why are we choosing StarTimes? You said the amount of $95 million, and it's not even a grant; it's a loan. You understand? This money is not being given to us for free. It's a loan that the people of Ghana are going to have to pay for. So when the communications minister, the last time I saw her speak on this issue, when she seems a bit aggressive and does not seem to understand what GIBA is talking about and is asking GIBA whether they can finance this, it appears to me that she's not recognizing the fact that the members of GIBA are more or less Ghanaians, and the people of Ghana are going to have to pay this loan back. So if the Exim Bank, the Chinese Exim Bank, are saying that, you know what, we are only going to release these funds to you, and I'm premising this on the statements of George Anda, the Honorable George Anda, the Deputy Minister. Yes. So he says that if we are going to access these funds, then we need to have StarTimes on this particular project. Then we have to ask ourselves that, is it even worth it? We are talking about a loan that Ghanaians are going to have to pay for ultimately. So if we are going to have to pay back for it, then why should we favor their people over our people?
It's a condition precedent. China. I mean, it's
but it's run through all precedent for all
projects. I mean, from the stadium that was built for Camp 2008 under the Kufuor, the one in the Seapoint in town. Every time a Chinese grant is advanced to you, there must be a Chinese company
with you. But this is to me, it's like I've heard so much money being thrown about in the media.
Don't forget, one other thing which you see, because StarTimes failed to facilitate that 95 million, that's how come Omani Boama cancelled the first contract, and it ended up affecting the CDB loan. That's what. So it connects up all until that point,
Duke, which is why on this platform this evening we have submitted to you and the people of this country that every country figures out its global relevance. So the Chinese figured it out. I need to build an export-oriented economy. So if I'm going to bring you money, Chinese business ought to follow. It's an export strategy.
Of course.
So now I'm thinking, what do I do to export? Not only media. Don't think you're just exporting media, because some other documents that I've seen suggest that they are going to bring Chinese content, which is going to be translated.
There's Kung Fu TV on.
How does so the question you ask yourself?
No, how
does all of that sit with your own strategy for supporting yourself? Here you are talking about airplay of Ghanaian content for 80% for some radio. That we're having all of these conversations about local content. How can create local businesses? And so the question that we keep asking, and I'm saying the government will not have to go around to try justifying this if the master facility agreement as signed is public. When we sign agreements with companies in the West, you sign agreement with IMF and other institutions, 48 hours, these guys put it up.
Yeah.
But this now, we don't. Look, for all you know, we in the media who would have reviewed this and seen it and know that, look, there's actually nothing to hide. There's actually value for the economy. Would have been doing the work for the Ministry of Communications. They don't have to go around chasing people out. In any case, GIBA is a stakeholder in that space. It's a private broadcaster. They are in that space. What was the stakeholder consultation going forward?
Another leg of this discussion is the tax waiver issue.
Yes.
You get it?
Yeah.
These are people or a company that is coming in to do something.
To compete
a foreign
against
company
local.
and is coming to compete against the local companies, and you are giving them tax waivers. The GIBA group, the KNet people, what have you given to them? Have they benefited from that? It was in the news recently where some local TV stations were laying people off.
Yes, true.
And as we speak, things are not going on well in the economy and all that. So
already people have bought documents, and that's one of the concerns of GIBA. People have already bought, what do you call it, equipment that they will have to do away with because it may not be able to be in tandem with
the
DTT platform that we want to.
So all those things need to be factored into all that we are talking about. If you are bringing in a competitor that you've given the person or the company a tax waiver, and after 6 months when they would start, people will start paying for those things, they have an advantage to price in a way that if a GIBA member is also pricing, that company will price the GIBA member out of business. So it is very important that
let's take concluding remarks on this. I'll start with you.
Will
the stakeholder consultation that's supposed to be held according to the ministry's timetable in the next 10 working days?
Yeah, it should be about 9 working days by now.
Will it help?
I think it's a useless stakeholder consultation. I think
you can be a bit kinder with your words.
No, I think it's useless as in it is not consultation.
What's wrong
it is information. They are going to give them information on probably what they've done so far.
Connotatively or denotatively.
Because consultation,
so I think you should.
Fine. I mean, the viewers can substitute it for whichever word they want. But I think, you see, consultation is I share my mind, you share your mind, we make a decision. But it appears that a decision has already been made and they will be informed. Exactly. I don't think anything that GIBA would say at this point will change anything that government has planned. So let's find a way to resource KNet, because it appears KNet do have the technology to move this project forward, but they do not have the finances. So let's find a way to support KNet, maybe financially, and then government should find a way to get the money back from KNet once KNet starts, this particular project.
But I'm going to take off from there and disagree with you. The reason I disagree is this. If the project there is a project that makes sense, like government is making us understand, we will not have to bankroll KNet. KNet can go find money in the capital markets and bankroll it. If it's a project that makes sense, and somebody is not going to get some 2%, 5% somewhere, it's a pure commercial project that makes sense, that would distribute diggy boxes, and people are going to pay 15 Ghana cedis cash flow. I mean, we can build a cash flow bottle around that.
As for that one, it's already for start times. Parliament has passed the waiver. and we're talking about the DTT.
And that is why that's what the conversation is getting. So here's my submission. Final words. We seem to, immediately we elect politicians, we seem to relegate, or it appears to them as though the rest of us in the country can no longer reason.
Yeah.
And because of that, somehow they have to do all the thinking for us. I do admit that, if my great-grandmother or my grandmother cannot read, the Queen's language, and you're governing the country by the Queen's language, of course. But it doesn't mean their inability to read takes common sense out of their head. So if you go and tell my...
bottom line, Patrick, we should release the information.
Bottom line is, you see, he touched on that point. Let's not get to a point where we are now going to have a stakeholder engagement. There's a way of doing it that industry players get to understand that you're doing something that supports and curate their businesses and helps develop the country. If there is nothing to hide, put it public. There's nothing wrong if, you know, today government can pick a document and say, GIBA, 8 months ago, we wrote to you. We invited you to have a conversation. We asked you to submit your technical opinion on the subject. It may not be that it's going to filter into the ultimate decision you are going to make, but at least you acknowledge that the industry players that it will brought to the party. And if today you can show us that, all of us can go after GIBA and say, where's your technical submission? And if we take that and look at the position government has adopted, I'm saying we can all reason, we can all think.
The stakeholder meeting is very important. It is necessary. It is needful. Government needs to allay the fears of GIBA members. GIBA needs to air its views and express its concerns concerning all that Start Time is doing. So even though, as my colleagues stated, that it will be, government has taken the decision already, it's just going to
an agreement has already been signed.
Inform Start Time. It's a step.
The government still says there's no contract.
It's a step.
The MOU has been agreed upon.
And I heard Judge
No, it depends. There are some conditions.
It is a step in the right direction. If people are making, in quote, noise about an issue, you need to bring them to the table to iron out the issue. So it is very important that a stakeholder meeting comes off, and we pray that something fruitful comes out of that meeting. Okay, so the consensus around the table is that more discussions would have to be had, so that an important resource like the country's digital space, the DTT2 Phase 2 is rolled out in a manner that is acceptable to all players, and then the citizens at the end of the day will be the ultimate beneficiaries of such a good policy. Let's move on to something that's affecting the pockets, whether it's deep or it's light. We're talking fuel prices. It crossed the 5 CD mark in the course of the week, and so far there have been reactions. Let's watch some of the reactions, and we'll be back to do the discussions as to how the ordinary Ghanaian can get relief in the face of these fuel price hikes. The price of fuel at the pumps crossed the 5 CD mark earlier in the week. Already, many are lamenting its possible effects on the ordinary Ghanaian. According to the minority, government must immediately cushion Ghanaians by scrapping off some taxes in the petroleum price build-up. Adam Mutowakilu is the minority spokesperson on mines and energy.
Now, in 2018 budget, this government presented to Parliament with a benchmark price of $57 per barrel. Benchmark price means the price at which we will sell our oil. But as we speak now, the price per barrel is $77 per barrel. That means government is making surplus of $20 per barrel. And currently we produce up almost 200,000 barrels. So if you multiply this $20 per barrel excess times 200,000, you are talking about $10 million excess every day. That means every day government is making surplus of $10 million. By this, the special petroleum tax have nowhere to fill in the gap in respect to the oil price. And that is why we are calling on President Nana Akufo-Addo to, as a matter of urgency, scrap the special petroleum tax.
To drive home their demands, the minority says they will embark on a nationwide outreach from the 15th of October to explain their position clearly to Ghanaians.
We in the minority, by 15th October, will be going on an outreach program to the various regions to meet various stakeholders to prove to them the reason why we are calling on the special petroleum tax to be taken off.
On the matter of the alleged transfer of some 40 million cedis from BOST to the chief of staff in the Mahama era, Adam Mutowakilu called on Yoko to fast-track investigations.
Nobody is preventing Yoko from carrying out its investigative duties. If you can tell me that since Yoko started investigating, if any member from NDC had made any allegation of them not doing the right thing. No. So the best authority has been given the mandate to investigate, and therefore it should allow them to do their investigation. If they feel that there is the need for forensic, they will engage those people to do the proper thing for them to come out. And they have the...
So that's MP for Damongo and minority spokesperson on mines and energy. Well, the government held a press conference in the course of the week to address matters in the energy sector, and these fuel price hikes matter came up. Deputy Energy Minister Amin Adam addressed the matter.
Speaking at a press conference in Accra, Mr. Amewu argued that the significance of the tax reduction can be seen in the ex-pump prices of petroleum products, which reduced from 40% in 2017 to 26% this year. Mr. Amewu stated that government's intervention has rather brought some relief, since consumers would have paid more for fuel as the global prices of crude oil surges. He argued that without government intervention, prices would have been 554 Ghana pesos for petrol and 550 Ghana pesos for diesel. This, he said, would have led to a 13% increase in the price of petrol and 12% increase in the price of diesel. He stated that as a result of government interventions, petrol is 9% less expensive than it should have been without the interventions. Diesel is 8% less expensive than it would have been without government interventions.
His Excellency under the current government, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, have reduced the petroleum special tax levy from 17.5% to 15% on the 16th of March 2017. Has His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo been able to reduce the special petroleum tax rate further from 15% downwards? Yes, again, he did that and been able to reduce it from 15% to 13%.
Meanwhile, a Deputy Minister of Energy, Mohammed Amin Adam, maintained that prices of fuel at the pump would have been higher than what is being experienced if the Nana Addo government had not scrapped some of the taxes on petroleum products.
We may have to meet some of our development needs through revenue generated from taxes. Government will do that, but government will do it responsibly. This is why, since the previous government imposed the SPT, ours, upon assuming office, has been to reduce the SPT. And this is why I'm saying that we can also generate revenue through taxes, but we are doing it responsibly. We are doing it in a way which does not put too much burden on the Ghanaian. And so, as the Honorable Minister said, we have reduced the total tax component in the petroleum product prices from 40% in March 2017 to date 26%. That is how a responsible government can generate revenue through taxes on petroleum product prices without injuring the Ghanaian, the welfare.
So that's the combination now at the Energy Ministry. Two former colleagues at ACCUSATIONS, Energy Policy Think Tank. They are running things now at the Energy Ministry. John Peter Ame, who is the boss, and his deputy, who he went to meet there, is Mohammed Amin Anta. Let's begin the discussion now. Patrick, people say the minorities' claim is hypocritical, especially when they introduce this special petroleum levy or petroleum tax to cushion government at the time that the world benchmark price was down, and that it outlived its usefulness long before they went out of government. They didn't scrap it. Others are also saying that government's stance is just not sensitive, because how can you say that it's crossed the 5 Ghana cedi mark per liter, but because you've reduced prices in the past, you think you've done well? These two arguments.
You see, Duke, ultimately, it is what the ordinary Ghanaian feels in his pocket that matters. No amount of economic justification, whatever metric you use, will make sense if ultimately prices of fuel is going to go up. That can translate into transport costs going up. And we know when you decompose our CPI and look at the portion of the CPI that goes into the energy sector, I know usually we don't consider that in determining core inflation, but that is a major driver for us in terms of what the general prices of goods and services are concerned. And indeed, in the economic history of this country, there was a point in time where, when economic policy of government was going to be read, all people were waiting for was the price of a gallon of fuel. So clearly, it tells you that no matter the nice things we say behind closed doors, what effectively is going to happen is that if the prices ex pump go up, your justification of it could have been worse is not something Ghanaians are willing to hear. And I'm not saying that prices ought to be sticky through time. That the price has to be 4.8, it should be 4.8 till we die. No. We all understand that there will be movements in prices of petroleum products.
Especially when we operate a deregulated regime.
Correct. Now, here's what's interesting about that conversation, which I think the Energy Ministry, the Finance Ministry, and the government have all been hypocritical about. Ghanaians are crying because disposable income in their pocket has not appreciated by the increases you are seeing in some of these products. That's why we're crying. I mean, if between last year and this year, even minimum wage has gone up by 20%. If minimum wage has gone up by 20%, nobody pays minimum wage in this country. We have to be very honest with ourselves. But even if we make that assumption that minimum wage is going up by 20%, I think prices go up by 5%. I mean, there's a cumulative 12% since June.
There's the argument there's the argument that the disposable income has also gone up because the over 300,000, what's the figure? Over 800,000, 180,000 students.
Of what?
Of 180,000 parents of the kids who are going into free SHS are not paying. So
let's not joke. Let's not. What is this? I mean, sometimes some of these things, you see, I get worked up. I get worked up.
Because they would have paid 2,000 Ghana cedis free SHS.
No,
government is paying that.
No. What's the population of parents you have in this country whose children are in senior high school?
Yeah?
No.
Close to 300,000.
No. You see, when you open the income basket of these people, your assumption is that that money that has been clawed back will go into something that is productive. Yeah? But if the general prices of goods and services have gone up, if you say inflation is now what? Now you're doing 9.9% now. Yeah? But how much has the fuel prices gone up? Between June and now, they're going to 12%. So of course people will get upset. And when you come and tell us that, yeah, the fiscal components of the price are things you have tempered with, and your benchmark for comparison is not the economic livelihood of Ghanaians, but it is what the SWAL government was doing, I feel you are insincere, you are being dishonest. Because the moment you start saying that during the NDC regime, you are not being sensitive to Ghanaians. Compare to the pocket of Ghanaians today. When you make that comparison, you will see the stark reality that, look, the fiscal elements in the price builder that you have tinkered with, maybe changes in the FX is a major problem. We've had that conversation about FX for a very long time. And when the FX started dancing, there were people who watched and said, look, the way the FX is going, you cannot but see possible price increments, the price of fuel going beyond that.
That's also another thing. The CD to the dollar.
Of course, it's there.
Because your SOB really, it's
dependent on the prices. And look, what is happening on the global market? Yeah, the US has a strategy to become a net exporter of crude by 2022. Now, that is scary for everybody because then it means that they are going to be looking for places that they can go and dump crude. And that is informing what their domestic strategy is looking like. So maybe it is time that the majority and minority and people who run government ought to be sincere with the people of this country. But again, I come back to the same conversation, talking across their heads and accusations. Why is the current government I know it's competitive politics we have, but why are you comparing the reductions you have made to that of the SWAL government? As if to say that during that time we're better off. No, we're not. So compare that to what our pockets, the relative disposable incomes in our pocket really and truly look like. When young people are being laid off from the banking industry like headless chicken, and the prices of crude oil is going up, and you see that now it's hovering around $78 per barrel. If some of the strategies you are hearing and some of the geopolitics you are hearing around crude oil between the conversations between the US, Iran, Russia, etc., there's a possibility supply is going to be curtailed a bit more because the US is still dreaming of enforcing its sanctions. So clearly you can see that, but in all of that, we are net exporter. We are net importer. In all of that. So the prices going up really doesn't help us. It really doesn't. When the prices go up, what people will pay, you get to suffer for it. So it's important that how you manage the economy to ensure that the depreciation of the currency is relatively stable, very predictable, so people can plan their lives around it. You make sure that people have money in their pockets. When that happens, I'm not sure I'll be having this conversation.
Okay. So obviously, the country needs a far-reaching strategy to be able to handle the issues around this fuel price issue. We'll go on a break. When we come back, I'll take the submission of my 2 other guests, and then we'll move on to our final topic for this, for discussion this week on press conference.
You're into the Breakfast Daily on CTTV. Stoneboy says so. Keep it locked. Don't log off.
We spice up your mornings with culturally enriched conversations, social interviews, and policy-oriented discussions that will keep you updated on the progress of the nation.
And that is the reason I was making the point to him that I refrained from responding to this Joyce Bauer statement. Because if some citizens have accused President Mahama of diverting a certain amount of money, deal with that, deny him, and move on with your life.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Let your voice be heard with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guest, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
I said, property tax, I will pay. If you come to my house, I'll cut you a check. But when did I do my presentation? February?
Yes.
Or February, yes, sometime. Nobody has come to my house.
Really?
Ghana is broke. And, you know, that's the reality we must all come to live with.
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on City TV.
You're welcome back to press conference on City TV. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. Before we went on that break, we were discussing the matter of the fuel price hikes and how the ordinary Ghanaian can get relief. Wilberforce, how can the ordinary Ghanaian get relief?
Oh, I mean, the industry players, of course, need to come together and, you know, figure out a way out of this, because I feel we are more or less being toyed with as a people, where you have Honorable Adam Mutakilu, much respect to him, by the minority spokesperson on Mountain Energy. He will come out to make statements like, you know what, by the 2018, or in the 2018 budget review, we're looking at $58 per barrel. These are the projections we made, or made projections based on this amount. And as it stands right now, crude is selling at $77 per barrel. So government is making a lot of money. So I don't understand why the fuel prices are high. If anything, it should be lower. Forgetting that we are net importers of fuel. And we know that when there's a raw product, the finished product is even usually ordinarily more expensive. So me on the streets, me not having any industry knowledge in how things work, I'm wondering why he'll be telling us this. You know, so there would clearly be other factors contributing to the increase in fuel cost. But then government also wants to pat itself on the back by saying, you know what, we came to meet 17.5, we brought it down to 15, and subsequently to 13% for the ESLA. Right, so this is how much. This is what we've done, and during the previous regime, Ghanaians would have been paying more, and it's not enough for the ordinary Ghanaian to be hearing this. You know, if anything, we voted the new government into power to help us, to help the ordinary Ghanaian at least move from one place to another. We know that when fuel price increases, surprisingly, when you increase fuel price, even rent increases.
Everything goes up.
Everything goes up. So instead of trying to say during your time I did, during my time I did it, during your time, let's forget all that. Let's bring the heads on board to save all Ghanaians, and let's stop this politicization of or politicizing fuel prices and the likes is really not important.
In practical terms, is this suggestion workable? Is it workable? Given your many years' experience as a parliamentary reporter,
to me, what I want to say is, government needs to scrap the special petroleum tax. Now, this tax was introduced for a purpose. You mentioned that in the budget, we projected to sell crude at $58 around 57 per barrel.
That was a benchmark price.
Then we are now doing 77. Are we not making more than what we've projected? We are. The special, yes, but the special tax, the special petroleum tax, was for the gap, to close that gap. Here is the case, we are doing more than that. And so, if you want to help Ghanaians to suffer a little lower, or to reduce the suffering they are going through, I believe you have to do that. The next one is the cedi depreciation is part of all this. If you are able to handle that properly, it can also bring down the price. Then the other one is the economy. People are suffering. My brother talked about the fact that since last year, have they increased minimum wage?
It's gone up, but it will take effect in January.
Yes, anyway. In January, and we are in 2018. Yeah. You get it. And so, looking at what people are going through, we talked about if fuel prices go up, food, as we speak, we even import tomatoes and other things from us, Burkina Faso and other places. And all that adds up to the suffering people are going through. If you have people at heart, if you believe that Ghanaians are suffering and you need to cushion them a little, these are some of the things that they need to do in order to bring the economic hardship that they are going through down.
But you see, Dominic, you made a point, which is that, you know, we should attempt or consider scrapping the special petroleum tax. Yeah. Now, I've heard that argument, and indeed some people in my institution as well hold that view.
Yeah.
It's already been factored into national revenue projections.
People hold that view. I don't dispute with anybody who holds that view, but here's the problem. You see, you want a certain relative predictability of policy. When you remove the levy today, yeah, you started at the beginning of the year has not ended, you're enjoying gains, so people are saying remove it. When you remove it and you are in November, and all of a sudden global turmoil, prices dip back to 50, 40, what are you going to do? You reinstate it? You disturb the predictability of what. And so what matters is what you do. What are the added strategies that you have around it? So yeah, you're making gains, but how do the people of the economy benefit from these gains? And these are the places where you need to, where you can really tinker with some of those solutions. I'm not necessarily calling for the arbitrary removal, reinstatement. I don't know. I mean, I'm not again Minister of Finance. I don't know what these things is, but from a policy predictability point of view, I think we need to have a broad conversation around that.
Okay, so let's take some messages. Isaac Mensah says, I love this guy, Patrick. He's on point. This one from Kingsley Wilson says, it's a shady deal and Ghanaians are wide awake. We are citizens and not spectators. Referring to the Star Times matter. Paul Saika Walker says, our leaders need dynamic prayers to think properly. They think to suit themselves. My pastor says, if you live to solve your own problems, you're a leader to yourself. But if you solve other people's problems, it makes you a leader. God have mercy. That is Paul Walker. And this one, Nane Ofori says, Patrick talks as if management of an economy is rocket science. Patrick, is that the...
What I'm actually suggesting is that throw light onto the policy making process.
You can't be grateful for his opinion. That's Nane Ofori, and that's what he thinks about Patrick. Anyway, we'll go into the home stretch, the final third of the program. We're looking at the corruption accusations being leveled against former Mahama government appointees, the likes of those on the Ghana Gas Board, Professor Kwesi Botwe, Dr. Valerie Soy, and the rest. He has responded, saying that the audit report is not really tenable. Let's start with this. First, it's a leaked report. Secondly, it lists a whole lot of, from Maslock to Ghana Gas to Bost and all of that.
Fortunately for those who have been named in this particular report, there's no clear indication of illegality yet. It appears to be some form of financial mismanagement or irregularities, financial irregularities.
But this is the finding of an audit. That was commissioned.
Yes,
and it's been forwarded to Yoko to look at the criminal aspect of it.
Exactly. So as at now, we cannot impugn criminality on anyone at this point, because the report clearly, at least the portions of the report I read, all the pages I read, mentions financial irregularity. So an irregularity may not necessarily be an illegality. So, innocent until proven guilty, let Yoko come out with solid findings. And even if Yoko profess certain charges against these named persons, it will be for the court to determine whether indeed an illegality has occurred. But as of now, when you hear about 100% illegality, you hear about 0.1% prosecutions, which to me is not fair as a taxpayer. You understand? Let the prosecutions be more. Let the people of Ghana know that we are indeed fighting corruption and that we are not just using words about.
This is we are in the second year of the present administration. And so if they found out something that is bad about the previous appointees, what are we waiting?
Some of them are in court. Upuni and
yes, they are in court. So why are they leaking reports out about the others?
How do we know?
Why don't, if you have something against the people, go to court. What we're hearing is cabinet report. Cabinet report. Why not from Yoko? Why not serious fraud office? Why is Auditor General? Why the police not taking people to court? What I see is that all that we are doing regarding this report thing is political game.
How?
That is all I say.
How does this
because we have institutions.
If people have taken the funds of the country into their pockets, are they not supposed to be prosecuted?
This country, when it comes to crafting laws, making laws, establishing institutions, we are good at that. Why do we have institutions that are mandated to do all this and they are not doing their work? Then cabinet has come out with some report and political people are running away with it, running with it.
I think he has a fantastic point. Because
the issue is that it appears it's just political.
It appears we are auditing people and not institutions. You understand? Why does the audit report end during a certain person's tenure when the institution is still functional?
But human beings run these institutions.
Yes.
So the
institution should supersede the human being.
Anyway, you have the last word on this, Patrick.
So when you pretend to work, you pretend to fight corruption. I mean, everything is pretense. In my view,
is that your reading of this?
No, in my opinion, right? We have the Auditor General's Department, which we're supposed to tool properly to work. We established the SP, the Special Prosecutor's Office, indeed, to take on certain cases that the Auditor General may not be able to take up as we understood it. And there are other state institutions in that space like that. My question. So cabinet comes, all these institutions you're talking about are SOEs. Cabinet decides that for A, B, C, D institutions, we're getting a committee, we're getting a different
private
auditors to go and audit that. What does that say about the Auditor General?
The Auditor General has a lot of work to do based on the mandate of the Constitution. So
then we are not serious as a country. Because I would have expected, Duke, that the same level of speed with which we think these 17 institutions or so ought to be audited, that same level of speed should be going across all 275 constituencies and all the MMDAs we have across the country, because we lose a lot of money out of there. Yeah. But if you can't go there, because your people are there now, and if that's a part of the public purse that we siphon money from, then it's fine. You're going to do this. But again, you see the narrative we started talking about this on this show this evening play out again.
Yeah.
Because there are accusations, documents that come out is not public. Somebody would have said, so this report that is published now, the private auditor's report that's ready, goes to the Auditor General, or it goes to some other state institution to start some proper prosecutorial work. We don't know how that is playing out. So immediately you leak portions of it. You know what happens? Valerie Sawyer, right? Yeah. So it is Valerie Sawyer versus current government. Government will react. And they both laugh at us, the taxpayers.
Helicopters in chamber.
So Unfortunately, this is.
I didn't say. Don't make it up.
Unfortunately, this is how we'll draw down the curtain on this week's edition of Press Conference on City TV. My guests have been Wilberforce, Isaac Mensah. He's a legal mind and a host of City Breakfast Daily. With GIFA. Yes, GIFA. Next to him is Patrick Stevenson. Is a policy wonk. You see the number of time policy. He's head of research of Atimani and news anchor at GH1 TV. And Dominic Hology is chairman of the Tema Regional Branch of Ghana Journalists Association and chief editor at GBC Radio Ghana. My name is Duke Mensah. Opoku. There's a repeat of this program tomorrow at 2 p.m. and on Tuesday at 12 noon. Good night.
This is for the big girls. Those who want to call themselves ladies and women. This one is for you, so slow down. Slow down, for age is just a mindset. Slow down, for sometimes the